Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And tonight I'm excited because I have my great special co-host on, Miss Natalie Montez, who is the owner of the Vineyard by Montez. Hello, Miss Natalie.
Hey, girl. Hey. Thanks for having me, of course, as always.
Of course. And of course, I want to welcome you all to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guest, Head Portfolio Advisor-Vinovest, Miss Lauren.Bletcher. Before joining the Vinovest team, Lauren has worked for the past 8 years to become a sommelier by passing courses through both the Court of Master Sommeliers and the Wine, Spirits, and Education Trust. This passion led her to Vinovest, a wine investing firm, where she now works helping clients diversify their investment portfolios into alternative assets, such as fine wine and whiskey. Lauren's area of expertise lies in investment grade wine, which consists of the top 5% of wine produced globally. She also specializes in rare Scotch and American whiskey. She is able to utilize both assets in curating a well-rounded alternative investment portfolio. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Lauren.Bletcher. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
Well, we're
so happy that we're finally having this conversation. So excited you're here, and thank you for your time tonight. This is going to be a great conversation.
Absolutely.
No, I'm so excited.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm so excited, especially after, we've gotten to work on your guys' portfolio and kind of build that relationship. I'm excited to help in any way I can.
All right. Well, like you said, we are a part of this. But before we dive into that, I always like to ask the guests just to tell us a little bit more about who Lauren really is.
Yeah. Well, I am like, how deep are we getting? No.
Right.
No, I'm a 37 single girl living in the city, and got really into wine kind of early on in my career, but it's always kind of been like a back end, kind of passion project. And then the pandemic hit and kind of shook everybody's world. And that was my time to kind of figure out, all right, time to figure this out or let it go. So that was when I decided to career out of it. And it was also kind of during when crypto was really weird and like big, and I didn't understand it for the life of me, but knew I needed to be investing in something. So wine, that made sense to me. It's a physical thing, and so that's kind of where that whole thing came from. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but yeah, I'm just a regular girl trying to figure out what to do with any kind of funds in this crazy economy.
Right. I agree with that. But I love what you just said, that it took you 2020 to sit down and really truly decide what was best for you. Mm-hmm. And, we all know that crypto is, everybody thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced pie. But at the end of the day, it is probably the most awkward thing, because you're either going to win or you're going to lose. There's no in between on crypto. Yep. So, I like the fact that you, decided to invest in something that has a lot more stability, and you're going to talk about that stability as we go on. But I'm sure whoever else has any questions, go ahead. And Nan, I think you got something bursting out of you.
Yes, I really just want to hone in what you said about it made sense to you. Tell me how did it make sense to you? Because I know for a lot of us, well, especially women, okay, investments has not been something that's on our priority list that we felt accessible to. It's been a man's world, really, to be honest. And so what made this actually make sense to you as a woman, as, in the pursuits that you were pursuing? How did it make sense? I want to know.
Yeah, I think kind of the biggest thing that drew me to Vinovest in the first place was that we were trying to democratize fine wine investing. So same thing in like the traditional assets. wine investing has really kind of been like your old boys club. You know, you needed to have a broker and an insurance type of storage and all of those things that really cut out the majority of the population. Not to mention, you know, these types of wines that we're investing in, this is not the stuff that we're going to be drinking on a Tuesday. Like, this is really expensive. And so those of us that didn't have access to that type of wine, why would we ever know that this is an investment vehicle? So the fact that we were kind of offering all of that education and, you know, that opportunity to invest in wine and utilize this as an asset class, I think was a big thing for me, not only as like a young investor, but as a woman. The other cool thing I figured out when it comes to wine is that we as women we're better investors because more often than not, we're way more patient. We're way less like out when they get volatile. We do a lot less, you know, rampant buying and selling. We're the more patient, you know, this is a generalization, but most, you know, statistically, this has been the case. So when it came to wine, it kind of made sense because essentially the longer I can hold some specific cases, not only is the actual structure of the wine changing, so we're getting different tasting notes and it's becoming more desirable to drink, but we also have a scarcity factor, you know. There's a finite amount of all of the wines made, especially these, you know, like collector edition wines. There's only so many, and other people around the world are going to be drinking those. So it becomes a simple supply and demand. The longer I can hold it, the more patient I can be, the more valuable that wine's going to be in the end.
Right.
That's awesome. Listen up, ladies. We were made for this. We were made for this.
Exactly. But, you know, the other thing I wanted to ask real quickly, kind of on the same basis of what you were talking about, is I want to know if you even have the answer to this, that why has it taken so many years for wine investing to be something noticeable here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's not the thing that we're always going to reach for first on the shelf. And if we are, you know, we're going to go for those like median bottles, you know, anywhere $10 to $20. I mean, that's drinking normally. And those wines aren't actually designed to age for a long time. So, you know, there's that statement, age is like fine wine. Honestly, not a blanket statement. Some wines really should only go, you know, a couple years max, or they're going to start to taste like vinegar. So I think there's been a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the world of wine that, you know, wine just is going to get better as it ages. It will, if it's put in if it's, you know, a really specific type of wine, and if it's put in really specific conditions. And so I think that's, you know, kind of like I was saying earlier, where we are seeking to democratize that, because why would we know that? You know, if I open a bottle of Chardonnay, I'm going to throw it in my fridge and finish it the next day if I didn't finish it that night. That's not what wine investing is. Wine investing is, you know, we have to hold this product, which is a biological product, which takes a lot of effort. So and there's all these kinds of rules. I think, you know, us as Americans especially don't necessarily understand like all of the specifications. And, you know, for example, there's this thing we do where we ensure what's called provenance. And that basically is like a government document that says this wine came from this place at this time, moved here, has been stored in these specific conditions. And because of that, we know that the quality is going to be good by the time you open it. So there's just all of these little that I don't think domestically we're very educated on. And, you know, it's not our everyday wine. So why would we know? Kind of been our goal.
Right. That makes sense because, you know, now that you're talking about that, but I think, you know, like I said, the majority of people, when they buy wine, all they think about is, oh, I'm just going to drink it and keep moving, and not realizing the value of what they are drinking and how it got there. So can you jump into a little bit about the process and how the minimal amount of money it takes to start investing? Because I think that's the other big issue that people, you know, start to get scared of is, oh my gosh, I got to pay what, you know, to get into this. And they always want to know the return on the investment. So let's talk a little bit about all of that.
Yeah. So just kind of for context, we are always going to buy these wines at the case level. If you think about like kind of fancy wines and how you always see them in the movies coming in that like big wooden crate, that's essentially kind of like the seal of quality. So we want to keep everything in that original wooden crate. I would say it's like baseball cards. is going to be worth more later when we keep everything intact in that original packaging. So we're always going to buy by the case. That being said, at this level, like I said, kind of top 5% of the wines that are produced globally. So the average cost of a case of wine at that level is usually around $1,000. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But that's basically why we've created that as a starting point at Vinovest. $1,000 is our minimum. You'll get about one case of wine. Definitely would be more ideal to diversify and have multiple cases if we can, but just as kind of like an initial hedge, that's basically your starting point. When it comes to returns, wine is pretty crazy. It's very steady. It's the lowest on the Sharpe ratio in terms of like volatility. Doesn't really move with the market, which is the other cool thing. So it's not really connected to any of these kind of economic upturns or downturns. Wine is pretty stable in that people are always drinking wine. So the returns are pretty level. I would say the average rate of return over a 12-month period is usually around 11% on average, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. That being said, it definitely, you're not going to get an 11% return every single year. We really have to wait for that wine to develop. And that's, again, where that patience piece comes in. But at the end of 5 years, you might be looking at a 50% return on your original investment. So,
wow.
That is really, really awesome. I know that you are, so for all of us out there who really are looking for a way to invest and they are confused about, how does it work? Portfolio managers, obtaining a portfolio of their own. I know, Kimberly and I are proud investors with Vinovest, and we are so blessed to have you as our portfolio manager.
Amen.
Tell us, yes, ma'am. We have had such a great experience with you in guiding us on this journey. But tell our community what you offer as a portfolio manager, like how you can settle people's fears and guide them through the process and how you interact with them over the course of a year's time span and stuff like that to give people that idea of what to expect.
Yeah. What I would say is that kind of the biggest piece of my job is education because, basically like we've been talking about, this isn't your run of the mill type thing that you're just going to know about. When it comes to trading at this level, me and my team are all at a certain level of what's called a sommelier. So we've been studying wine for an extensive amount of time. So it basically is my job to advise you the best. Basically, like your broker or your financial advisor. Same thing, but just, it's a drinkable product instead, which is kind of cooler. My job is a lot of the front end education. So basically that's telling you how the investment's going to work, how things are going to be structured, what to expect. And then as that portfolio grows, we can have basically portfolio reviews, talk about certain positions, if they're moving, why did we buy this specific wine? Give you a little bit of buying logic there, and talk through kind of the selling process as well. When we think we should sell this based on its ideal maturity window. Because we definitely understand that this can be, not a lot of people know about wine. So why would you want to risk a lot of funds in it? So basically that's my job to make sure people.
Right.
Yeah, and giving them a peace of mind about what to expect and how, and that patience that is required, because this is not a situation where, like, Lauren, send me some wine. I'm having a dinner party. This is not what that is.
Exactly. Yeah, because we can definitely say that you have absolutely educated us on all of that and how to balance and knowing when to move and not to move. And we, communicate with you several times throughout the year just so we can get that understanding. But I loved your truth through that, because there's many people would just say, oh, go ahead and just keep, add more money. And the reality is it's not always necessary to keep adding. You want to see the growth in that. So here's my question. You talked a little bit about the inflation resistant and some of the recession resistance. So what about the direct ownership and how does, and also the tax advantages that come with that?
Yeah. So a cool part about this as an alternative investment, I love having, a decent portfolio of alternative investments. But what I found, especially at certain levels is that a lot of those are going to be fractionalized type things. So you're locked in, you basically just do what the group does, and that's great for that type of investment. But we kind of wanted to be protective of our investors in that everything that we purchase for you in a particular portfolio is owned exceptionally, like only by that individual. So that, I think, gives you a lot more autonomy when it comes to this investment. So, you know, if for whatever reason you need a little bit of liquidity and we need to sell off a case of wine, we can do that. It might not happen immediately because we've got to look at all the market structure and all that. But it's possible. Or, you know, all of the returns, if this wine goes up by 800%, which I've seen happen, that's all yours. You know, you're not splitting it up with anybody. So I think that piece of like just protecting our investors was the most important. When it comes to tax advantages, you're not paying taxes on this type of investment until you actually sell the wine. So, you know, while we're holding these wines, maybe 5 years, that's just sitting what's called duty free in a bonded warehouse in the UK. So we're basically sitting tax free, which is kind of nice. At the end of it, when we do sell, it's going to be what's called a collectible values tax, which is pretty similar to a capital gains.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, Uncle Sam's going to get his part regardless. So, you know, that does not surprise me.
Unless we drink, we're good.
Unless what?
Unless we drink it, then we're good.
Oh. Okay. So,
Noted.
Very noted. Yes. That means that we're getting. Look, I already had my drunkenness for the weekend with wine. I don't know if I'm ready for another load. Oh my goodness! Wow. But that's actually very interesting to know, because I think, you know, like I said, that's something that people need to be educated on, because that is usually a fear, is not understanding how the taxes work, and, you know, like you said, what the full portfolio process is and all these things. So with you being in the position that you're in and teaching and educating, the educating is always the number one piece that most people don't get and don't learn and aren't willing to learn, because they're so into wanting to have that instant gratification. So I like the fact that, you know, you're saying, hey, this is not how this works. So, you know, if that's what you want, you know, you can go buy your wine and drink it tomorrow, but you're not going to gain anything out of that, you know. So I think that's really important piece and aspect of understanding about investing. Do you have any other questions, Natalie?
I do. I actually want to talk about this sommelier business.
Yes.
I think that is an amazing achievement. Okay. Like, I have, you know, read and researched and watched movies and all the things. And people ask me with my business, Divino by Montez, and my journey, you know, in wine, because wine is my love language. Why don't you just get your certification? Why don't you be a sommelier? And a lot of the people that I've run into who have gone to that level of certification felt rigid, right? Felt like everything has to be this way. Like, this is what you're tasting, but what if I taste this? You're not tasting that. Like, it's like, this is what's in here. This is where it's great. Like, and I wanted to be a little more like, okay, if you taste that, you taste that. It's your palate, it's your experience. But I don't get the sense that you are that rigid. I feel like, you know, you're a little bit more fluid in that, like open. And so tell me a little bit about how you navigate being a sommelier, what it means to you, how you put it to use in what you're doing with Vinovest, and then how it has sort of made you interact with us, you know, the common folk who don't know a whole lot about wine, but just want to talk to you about it, you know?
Yeah. I think when I started the journey, it was really just like passion forward. I fell in love with wine because for me, it's so sensory in that you smell it and remind you of the place where you had that wine, and you taste it and you get all these. And so for me, it was just kind of this awesome thing that always called back to like a really good time. And then on top of that, I kind of fell in love with really nerdy aspect. Like, this is chemistry, and the decisions that a winemaker makes today is going to affect a product that we're drinking 20 years from now. And I just thought that was so cool. So my journey kind of, and I really wanted to get into that aspect of it, the winemaking side. I actually, for this really amazing Burgundian family out of France and made wine for them, which was the hardest, craziest thing I've ever done in my whole life. But I'm really glad I did side of it, because I don't think I would have the same level of appreciation for, you know, all of these grapes going into this bottle and all of the steps and the people and the processes that make it happen. So that was kind of the start, I think.
That's awesome.
And then from there, it became, you know, wine is so personal. Like I said, it evokes different memories for different people. Your life, you're going to smell different things than I'm going to smell. Like, for example, if I'm tasting a Sauvignon Blanc, one of the key elements that you usually smell is called ammonia. I never call it like that because it doesn't smell like that to me. It smells like cat pee. So that's what I say.
Yep.
So, you know, and that's another, you know, it does feel rigid being a sommelier as, you know, you're either going to go working in winemaking or you're going to go into service. So working in really high restaurants. I experienced both, and of them called me. And I really like working with people and talking about the things that they're passionate about. So I don't know how, but a long time ago when I started this, I manifested that I wanted to work in building portfolios. I want to buy wine for people that I know. And then I kind of had that realization the other day of like, oh crap, I did it. So,
my gosh, that's amazing.
Vision board. Yeah, there you go. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing.
No, it's no problem. I think, you know, the rigidity, and I think that's why a lot of people don't get into wine, because it can come off snooty and there's so many rules. And there's
intimidating, right?
Yeah. I'm always like, if you like this, that's what you like. I'm not going to tell you it's a good or bad bottle. If that's what you enjoy, that's what you enjoy. If you think that this bottle of Zinfandel pairs well with popcorn, then hell yeah, eat it, you know?
Exactly.
Right. And we had a lot of that same experience over the weekend, you know, when Natalie and I were out and did a wine expo, and we were just talking about that before you came on, how we were expecting, I guess, a little bit different type of experience, but I love just what you just said. If you know, it's not about what you think, it's about what that person thinks. Is when they're drinking that, hey, if they want to eat it with that popcorn, eat it. If they want to have it with that chocolate, that's your business. But you're right. So many people will continually tell you, oh, that's not what you're smelling. And that's not what you know. That's what I'm smelling. You know, so, you know,
or you don't drink that wine with this food.
Right. There's always been that attitude. Oh, you can't have red with this, or you can't have white with this. So I definitely can say I've learned a lot more about, I've always enjoyed drinking it because I've enjoyed the experience. But since Natalie and I connected many years ago, I've really come to actually appreciate it more. And then now learning it on this level, when it comes to the investment side of it as well, it does make you think differently about what you're doing, why you're doing it. You know, not so much that I care about the purchasing part of it, but just understanding the whole process. Because we've even talked about the fact that, you know, we would love to have the Vigno by Montez label stuck on one of those bottles, but how do we get there? And right, Natalie? Like, how do you get there?
Yes. But you know what? One of the things that I love that you said is that it's about education. And that's what it is for me. So if I'm standing in front of a group of people and I'm doing a tasting and they don't like a particular wine and it has to do with, you know, what they're eating and stuff, and I can teach them that based on the acidity of what you're drinking plus the acidity of what you're eating, that could be the clash, you know. So try it, you know, wash your palate, try it with this. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I actually love this, you know. So there is a level of, you know, what we do that isn't just telling people what they should, you know, taste or enjoy, but it is showing them how to enjoy what they already think they love, but considering all of these other elements, just like the chocolate pairing, you know, and certain dark chocolates are not good with high acidity wines because it will clash and one of them will taste terrible, you know. So it's that level of education that I think people really appreciate and makes it less intimidating, the experience of wine, you know.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you one of my party tricks when it comes to like talking about pairing is it really has a lot to do with personal preferences, but I'll bring a bunch of limes, cut them up, have somebody drink a wine first, smell it, taste it, all of that, tell me what they suck on the lime and then immediately taste that wine again. And you can just really see how acidity, all that stuff changes the wine really drastically. And so, yeah, it just makes it a little bit more approachable when you can with it, I think.
That is a fun experiment. I'm going to add that into my repertoire.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to borrow that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to mention, that could you talk a little bit more about the education side? Because I know that Vinovest, usually whether it's monthly or quarterly, you guys put on an actual virtual meeting about what has been, what's been upgraded, or what's going on in the wine world. So can you talk a little bit more about that for our listeners?
Yeah. We're trying to put out as much content as we possibly can. You know, we're still a small team, so it's a lot. But every quarter, my CEO does basically a recap. We talk about what moved, what didn't, what the market trends are. He and the head of our wine trading team, who's also a master of wine, she'll talk about her predictions. And so it's just a fun, interactive way to kind of get a little bit more insight. But then pretty much every month we try to put out some kind of webinar. So for example, I think last month we just partnered with NBA player CJ McCollum. And so he came on and told us about his winery and, you know, just random little tidbits of what's going on in the market or what we're excited about. And we also have team on the boots on the ground in Italy and France. And so sometimes they'll go directly to producers and we'll get in a webinar, the actual vineyards that we're investing in and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're trying really to make this a much more approachable way of looking at wine.
Yeah, and I like that. And one thing people cannot say that once they do get involved with Vinovest is that education is always there, you know, and because there'll be a lot of people, well, they didn't tell me this. Well, that's because you weren't listening. Okay, because the education is absolutely there. And that's a big part of how we learn. And even when I had first seen this and I had approached Natalie, I was like, oh my gosh, Natalie said, we got to do this. You know, and we started to truly educate ourselves before we dived in, and we've had several meetings and, you know, we built that rapport and trust with you guys in order to move forward. And that's really what it's about. And that's the thing I love with you guys. You're actually building partnerships with all your investors. It's not just, hey, we're taking your money and that's it. So I think that's an important piece.
And there's even a community where investors can communicate and share and, you know, all of that stuff. So it's just really an awesome, it's a real awesome community, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right. Yeah. We definitely wanted to like open and not snooty as possible.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, it makes us everyday people feel more involved. And then, you know, and I think the thing that people need to come up to with the attitude or takeaway from them is that, you know, is you never know who you're looking at and what they're about and what they can invest and what they can do. So when you start to take away that so-called uppity persona or attitude or whatever you want to call it, then I think people start to understand that, you know, the person that's in those shorts could be the best millionaire you've ever met. You know, you don't know, you know, so there's everyday millionaires walking around. And like I said, the good part about this is that you don't have to be a millionaire in order to get started. But it can get you there if that's what you're looking for. And I think that's the most important part to understand about investing is that there's so many different ways to do it. And talking about wine investment has been, like I said, a great thing for us. And we've been excited. Are we coming up on a year or 2 years, Natalie?
Oh man, I think, a year. I know we just passed a year, I think.
Okay.
I think we're,
Yeah. This goes to show you how fast. How fast time goes, right? So, but yeah, so, you know, like I said, this has been a great conversation, but, Lauren, is there anything else that you would like to share with us or, you know, with the listeners, you know, about how they can get started and how they could reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically the way to get started is you would just create your own profile on vinovest.co. One quick thing is that we are doing whiskey investing as well. So you can search us either via Vinovest or WhiskeyVest. Whiskey is super crazy, a little bit quicker of a turnaround time, $1,500 minimum there, but you actually own a full cask of whiskey. And we hold it for about 3 years and then sell it. So that one's pretty crazy. then we can also do my email. All of that, I'm sure, will be listed.
Yes.
But yeah, feel free to reach out directly with any kind of questions. And then we're on Instagram and Twitter as just Vinovest.
All right. Natalie, do you have any
Awesome.
closeout questions?
I don't. This was so awesome. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate what you are going to do. And we appreciate you sharing your world with our community. This has been a great insight into wine and Vinovest, and we look forward to what comes from here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Such a pleasure. I always enjoy getting to chat with you too. So thank you again for having me on.
Well, it is a pleasure. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Lauren. And go and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Take care, Lauren.
All right, Natalie. Woo, you're talking about a great conversation to have this evening.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Boy, I'm excited.
So much good information. I mean, I feel like I could talk about this topic and to Lauren and learn from her for like forever, like just
Right.
endlessly.
Exactly. But the thing that I love is the simplicity of what we learned tonight. And I'm hoping that all the listeners and like I said, our community is enthralled in what we learned, and that, we do plan on, our goal is to be able to have more conversations about this with our community, so that we can, if you're really, really, truly interested in learning more about investment, we can get you to where you need to be and get you connected to the right people. But we really, truly want you to understand is that how valuable it is, and what we've learned from it. And I think that's the most important part, is that we can actually say that we are doing this, and, where we started from and where we're going to, and what our purpose and goals is. But, the thing I love is that, we want women to understand that this is more than just the norm. And like we were saying earlier, women in investing, it's changing, but we don't always get involved because we think it's a man's game, and that's not true.
Right.
That's
right.
not true.
It's not true at all. And it's actually very accessible for us. It's very understandable. It's not like fear-based. It is broken down, and Lauren and her team do such a great job of offering guidance anytime you want a meeting and say, I just need to level set. I need you to tell me where I'm at. What should I do next? How, she will get on a call with you. So having a portfolio guide or a portfolio manager like her is what makes it that much better, because I love wine. I know a lot about wine, but I don't, this is over this last year is when we started learning about investing in wine. I hadn't even heard of it before.
Right.
So this is new to me as well, but it never felt out of reach for me, and it wouldn't for anyone else,
Exactly. And then the other thing too that's important is that once you do set up your login page, you will, as everything gets set up for you, you actually will have a dashboard. So you can actually go in and you can look at things yourself to see where you're at. If you're comfortable, if you're not comfortable, you can close out at any time that you want. But like Lauren said, it's a long-term investment. So if you're looking to get your money overnight, it's not going to happen. So essentially, if you're
have
investing,
to have patience.
Right, you do. Because if you're investing your money today, and then you're like, this isn't going anywhere a month from now, well, then you really haven't gained anything. And actually, you can actually lose money in that process if you don't give it the time that you need in order to make the investment whole and to get your return on that investment. So I think that's important.
And really, in that case, if someone is having that expectation, they're not really looking to invest. They're looking for a get rich quick. And so they're in the wrong, they're on the wrong platform anyway.
Yes, exactly. Because there's plenty of those get rich scams going on out there. So y'all be careful.
Exactly.
Be careful.
Be careful out there.
Exactly.
This one is not one of those. And this is something that is, that they take care, they listen, they understand what your goals are, what your long-term time frame is, like 5, 10, 15, you know what I mean? Like 25-year plan, like whatever it is. But people, I just want to reiterate and really stomp my foot on these are the top 5% of wines globally. So this is not just what you're buying in your grocery store, and they're just like holding it for you in a warehouse. That's not what this is.
Exactly.
So these are not things that you, even if you had a bottle of it, that you'd want to just pop open and like finish in one night and be like, that was that experience, you know?
Exactly.
So we have to think about the quality of what you're investing in when you're talking about investments. And that's what I really love about this process.
That's right. That's right. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. So, you know, there really isn't any excuses, to be honest with you, you know, if you do decide to get into this, but it's a mindset thing. So the bottom line is if you're thinking one way and you know that's not the direction that this company goes or how investments work in the wine world, then you're totally going to be wasting your time and everybody else's. So it is truly about mindset and knowing, excuse me, what your purpose is and why you want to do this. But, you know, I think that, that, you know, a lot was said tonight, and I think, you know, it was great information. And like I said, we will continue to have these conversations because we think that they're needed and they're necessary, especially for those who are interested in wanting to learn more about the wine investing. And you know, we are the go-to people for that. So do you have any last words, Natalie, before we close out tonight?
I don't, except that I want to reach out to Lauren and ask her where she is exactly in California, because I'm going there soon. I'm like, maybe we can meet up.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're supposed to be going to Napa Valley, you know. So it's like,
I know. We have
Valley?
all these plans. Yep. I'm like, I need to, where are you? I'm going to find you, girl, because we need to hang out.
Right. Yeah. That would be a long, long night. Probably, you know, run into the night till in the morning at the rate, you know, the way we go do things.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Right.
This was a great conversation.
It absolutely was. So before we close tonight's show, I hope you all enjoyed our conversation on wine investing and how you can be creative with your portfolio, whether you use it for business or for pleasure, retirement, or for fun. You know, if you want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to myself, Kimberly at wsbilc@gmail.com, or you can definitely reach out to Miss Natalie Montez. And Natalie, what is your email again?
My email is divinobymontez@gmail.com.
Okay, so
that spelling is kind of hard, so we'll provide that.
Yes, we will have that in the show notes. Absolutely, because I can't even remember it. So unless I'm looking at
I gotta be complicated, like the
the
complicated, beautiful wines I love.
I know you do, but that's why I love you. Okay, complication. Okay, gotta have somebody on the team that's complicated.
Complex. Let's just change
complex,
that to
not complicated. Yes. Okay. So anyway, for those, like I said, if you guys are interested in learning more about investing, or you want to talk to us about business in general, or you would like to learn more about Natalie's business by Divino by Montez, because she is fantastic at what she does. So please reach out to us. Let's chat about how to take those steps that you guys want to take, turn those dreams into goals. And of course, if you want more of your Resource for Success podcast, monetary donations to support the podcast are now accepted on Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods Tip Jar, or you can go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We'll be back next week with more amazing guests, and be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast. But until then, enjoy the rest of the evening, and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.